Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the AAA Show. I am your host, Jared Down here. We're going to talk a little WHL draft recap. It is a big day, which is, I guess, tonight or today in the WHL draft, the show being pre-recorded on a Thursday night. Lots going down. I've got a popular guest in the show, JD Houghton, joining me live from his place in Kenora, Ontario, where he now resides and covers a little Manitoba hockey. There's a lot of Manitoba players taken in the draft today. But how's it going, JD?
Good, man. I'm excited. It's another WHL. I guess they call it a prospects draft now instead of a bantam draft. But it's exciting news. It's a new batch of players going to enter into the WHL, and the skill just keeps getting better and better each year. Obviously, Connor Bedard taken a couple of years ago, or I guess in the last draft as a 15-year-old, and we all know how he's doing. So it's nice. It's going to be nice to see some of these players come next year suit up for their WHL clubs.
Yeah, definitely. And, the draft being moved to December from its normal spring slot, gave some kids a little more time to develop despite the COVID year last year. Scouts were able to get a little more taste of where they're at in their careers, playing their first year midget hockey or U18 hockey, I should say. Good. Still not used to that. It gets me every time, but
Yeah.
It's you've seen some kids already. I noticed just kind of tracking scouts, rankings from the summer to now, and there's some kids that let it up in bantam that would have been normally probably called in the first round, and you see them early third, late second, just because there's that initial AAA shock. So it'll be interesting to see how these players develop, but it's definitely a nice twist to the draft season.
Yeah, and it's nice too because these with it being in December now, a lot of these kids have played upwards to between 20 to 30 games already this season, and it's 20 or 30 more games that scouts have been able to see more than they did last year with COVID kind of slowing the season down and ultimately shutting it down for some leagues that didn't even get a chance to play or only got to play 4 or 5 games. And it's hard for a team to really take a player and put all their eggs in one basket, knowing, not seeing the full, throughout a full 48 to 60 games, depending on whatever league they're in. So it's nice now that they've gotten, like I said, 20 to 30 games under their belt. So they can really get a good look at the player that they are and what they can turn into.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned, just that getting that extra hockey and not playing last year. There's 2 Manitoba teams that had players go in the top 10 of this draft. And, for those kids didn't play at all last year other than practicing around the rink. And, that just comes to show how hard they've worked just to have to get in line with those guys who had the upper step on them this season, who actually got games in last year. But I guess let's just jump right into it. Pulling this off the WHL site. Going first overall, Berkeley Cotton. Not a surprise there. I know we talked about him lots on the AAA show last year, and I had Kevin Henry on a bit this past spring and this fall or this summer, and you could not speak highly enough of him. A well-rounded two-way guy, the great shot. As I read on Twitter earlier this week, one of the top prospects to come on to Saskatchewan since Jared Stoll. So not a big shocker there, but congratulations to him on going first overall.
Yeah, and he's going to the Spokane Chiefs too. Like they're a team that I think is in the midst of rebuilding. They got a solid program there, and for him to take his offensive talents to south of the border is really going to benefit them come next year. Obviously, with his, I think he has roughly around 20. I think it's 23 points. Let me just double check here. Yeah, 23 points in 15 games. So he's definitely over a point a game player. And, and there was a lot that the Saskatchewan U18 AAA Hockey League was well represented in this draft. And it's starting each year to keep getting more and more of those high draft picks in the bantam draft coming out of Saskatchewan. Like we saw in that Connor Bedard draft, like Riley Height, Sam Aremba, Brady Bernie. I can never remember how to pronounce his last name, so I apologize to anybody watching if I pronounce his last name wrong. I know Jared's a Swift Current Bronco fan, but you can just see the talent that's coming out of Saskatchewan, and obviously, like you said, the best player to come out of Saskatchewan since Jared Stoll. So I imagine we're going to see him put up some big numbers with Spokane, hopefully next year and for many years to come. And we might even see him represent Canada at the World Juniors.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to be a candidate down the road that we'll see his name called for that team. Interesting move by him this year. He played at the Contacts last year and decided to go down to Shattuck St. Mary's U16 AAA program. Probably one of the top programs in the United States for hockey. Definitely one of the top in Minnesota. And 23 points in 15 games, as you said. It wasn't a very hard transition for him. He stepped right in and performed well.
Yeah, good for him.
Second overall, another American team getting lucky in the draft lottery. Jordan Gavin, center of the Delta Hockey Academy. What I've read on Twitter so far on him is a very high IQ, dual threat. Can't put the puck in the net, can also dish it though. The Americans, another team that's heavy in a rebuild. You get a guy that can do both. That goes a long ways into a rebuild, eh?
Well, and he has 58 points at 14 games, so you know the kid can score. But there's a huge jump from playing the CSSHL to playing in the Western Hockey League when you're playing, because usually in that league you're not playing that many games a week. But you are traveling a lot to tournaments and doing showcases and things like that. But, when you're in the WHL, you're playing 3 games a week at sometimes, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or whatever the case may be. But so that's going to be the transition, I think, for all these players to go from U18 right up to major junior, where, as we've seen in the last few years, the skill has gotten much better. So you have to be stronger, faster. And like you mentioned, having a great hockey IQ is great. Knowing where to be when you don't have the puck is also very important. Very important. So you can get assists or goals, or be in the right place at the right time, and that's going to be key. Like I said, for all of these players, making that big jump if they do decide to go in the Western Hockey League. Maybe they want to go straight to college. I don't know, but it's going to be exciting. And like I mentioned, 58 points in 14 games. From on the score sheet, it looks like he's a natural born scorer. But time will tell with playing in the Western Hockey League and playing in the States, because playing for a team that might not be good for 2 or 3 years. So being able to keep that drive and that confidence level up, maybe playing on a weaker team, is another thing too. The mental game is going to be big as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the natural born scorer. Puck Preps Western Canada, they're on Twitter. They kind of broke down the players and what teams they'd be looking for, whether it's top 5 offensive D-man or top 5 scorers in the draft, and they had Jordan Gavin right there, number 1, as one of the top snipers in the draft. So Tri-City's got a good one there. If they can get him to come, they should be laughing with what they get in him. Going to number. Pardon me?
Oh, I was just going to say that the shared screen cut off.
Alrighty. So to number 3 in the draft, kind of one of the stories of the draft, Brandon. They're not off to the hottest start in the league this year, but they've still got a quality team there, and just reaping the rewards of a couple trades a couple years back there. One from the Cale Clegg trade, I believe, Demusha at number 4 there. I believe that was a trade, and I'm not 100% sure on the Victoria one. That might have been the Tanner Kapsik trade. Not sure if you're sure on that, JD, but landing 2 picks in the top 4 for a team that's pretty close to being a contender already, getting Charlie Elick at number 3. Let's just start with him. One of the better D-men in the draft. I know I was watching this one live, and they mentioned getting that coveted right-handed D-man that can kind of do it all. Really good skater, mobile, and has a quite good shot. So kind of checking off all the boxes there for the Wheat Kings. Any thoughts on that pick?
I think that I think it's a good pick for Brandon, obviously, with the departure of Braden Schneider, from last year's team. Getting themselves a solid defenseman for the future, I think, is key. I think he has 12 points in 11 games, so just over a point for a defenseman. That's pretty good. And to try to spark that offense and to become a leader is I think what Brandon's looking for. And like he said, like they're already a contender right now. I imagine they're going to squeak into the playoffs or get into the playoffs. And to get such a high pick on previous trades is key, because that's the goal every year, is to keep building for the future, look ahead. Instead of there comes a point where all your you got 8 or 9 or 10 19-year-olds on your team, you're going to lose most of them the next year. So to get a good talented defenseman in this draft is always key. One that can play a lot of minutes, put points on the board for the team, as well as kill penalties and be that catalyst on the power play as well. So I think it's a great pickup. The CSSHL is well represented yet again. Being one of the top developmental leagues for young players. Probably, I imagine most of the players that are drafted are coming out of the CSSHL. But it's a good pick.
Yes, and I know on some rankings, Elick was a little lower when you compare it to his draft slot. However, it's often a very offensive-heavy, driven top of the draft, and with Brandon already having a well-stocked fridge, and I believe 3 picks in the first round, you can afford to go grab a guy that, I don't want to call it a reach, because he's a very talented player, but grab him a few slots prior to where he could be going, and he's going to be a great asset to that team, and I don't think they could have gone wrong. Going to their second pick, but the 4th pick of the first round, Roger Mcqueen, one of the big fish the Saskatoon Blazers were able to recruit this season. For some of you that are watching, unlike Manitoba and Alberta, Saskatchewan's kind of a free-for-all when it comes to AAA landscape. They can recruit from all over the province, and they went heavy after the top bantam class last year, and that's why you'll see a lot of names coming up here in the first and second round. But Mcqueen, a big frame, I believe he's almost 6'4" at the young age he is, and above a point per game player with his team. It's kind of a given. You're going to take a guy like that to bring to your roster if he's sitting there.
Yeah, no, it's you can't go wrong, obviously. And Saskatoon, the Blazers and the Contacts programs, they have definitely put out some pretty high-end talent, coming out of that Saskatchewan U18 AAA Hockey League. It's great to see that both of their programs are as good as they are, and players want to go play there, because, you look at a guy like Riley Height that's lighting it up in Prince George right now. He played, I'm pretty sure he was a Contact, but, Brandon, like I said, with their 3rd pick, they, any opportunity to get a scorer in, the first 5 picks is going to pay off in dividends for you. And like we're probably going to keep saying throughout this show, it's going to be exciting to watch him grow into a WHL player when that time comes. For what you said, he already has the size to play in the league. And, for him to be over a point a game player, it seems like he has the skill and, that hockey IQ. And Brandon saw something that they really liked in him. And that's why like we mentioned at the top of the show, it's great to have this, later in the year when these guys have already played 20 to 30 games, because you can see that. It's not like you're going off for, like, I think the most any team played in that league last year was 8 games. So it's, you're seeing them play 20 to 25 games, which is great. You know what you're going to get. And obviously they knew what they wanted and they got him.
Exactly. And, Roger only played 4 games last year with the Stallions being in Bantam. A little less fortunate than some, but he had 27 points in 4 games. And, some kids that put up those numbers last year, their numbers backed off a lot this year, but he was able to prove a lot of that, probably due to his 6'3" frame, and 20 points in 17 games this season with a team that's really young. They have a lot of first-year players on that roster, and which for some people looking at that team heading into the season, that they're like, well, that could hurt them or that could really help them, given the quality of players they recruited, and he hasn't slowed down, so it's great to see there.
Yeah, and the coach over in Saskatoon knows what he wants. He's he's been doing it for a while, and that's why there's so many of their players go on and play in the WHL, is because they know what they want as a team, and they find the right players to create such a great team.
Yeah, definitely. Before we get going on, we'll probably start to speed through the picks a little more here after this, but we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back shortly.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome back, everyone, to the AAA Show. We're about 20 minutes into the episode and only through 4 picks, so we'll try and get her going here a little more.
A lot to talk about.
Yeah, the bad thing about getting me and JD together, sometimes we can blab our mouths away for a long time, and the other time we get 5 minutes in and nothing left to talk about. So, moving on to Red Deer here. Let's quickly go through this one. Ole Jofferson. Almost sounds like a European name. I wonder if there's some European influence in him, but them Swedes got good hockey too. So maybe there's some influence there. I apologize if there's nothing there for any of his family watching, but congratulations to him. Going to Red Deer, to a program that, they struggled last year in the bubble and are really picking it up. They got some good pieces there. They took a chance on a player later on in the draft that could really elevate that roster that we'll get to in a bit. Might take a little bit here to go through these next 2 picks, a little hometown bias here, but at 6, we got Clark Caswell of the Brandon Wheat Kings going to the Swift Current Broncos. Clark having a heck of a year and a a loaded Wheat King squad in that Manitoba League. I know JD, you've had the chance to watch him this season. What are your thoughts on that pick?
It was when I first saw him, the Kenora opened up against Brandon, so I haven't seen him for a while, but in those 2 games, like it was, like you said, they're a loaded roster, but he just has a nose for the net and a nose for the puck and a nose for putting the puck in the back of the net. And he's only 15 too. Like, it's crazy. He's a first-year player in the U18 league. He leads the league with 64 points on a squad that has yet to lose in regulation. And for this young man, he's going to go to a team that is really building for the future. They got a lot of young talent there. Obviously, you get to see them night in and night out, being a season ticket holder. He's going to play with the likes of, Matthew Ward and Brady Bierney and, Connor Vidston. And, there's some good players. There's some good hockey going on in Swift Current. And for him to take his offensive talent, which, he's going to be joined with, 2 or 3 or 4 players that already have that. Watch out. Swift Current's going to be a good team in a couple of years.
Yeah. I'm just hoping he comes. That's been a tough thing for a lot of Bronco fans is, it's a smaller market. They have a history of winning, but it's tough nowadays. You're seeing it more and more, getting these kids with college hockey being a lot more appealing than years past. And, Swift's usually done a pretty good job at doing the due diligence and checking on what kids want to come to the league. But like you said, Swift's a team that's on the rise. They've been giving a lot of good teams some heck this year and playing good hockey, possibly going to be in a playoff spot come the end of the year. And their core is all 16, 17 guys for the most part. And, if Clark can, play well, maybe he can crack the lineup next year as a 16-year-old. And if not, when he comes to 17-year-old, that team will be rolling. Knock on wood, obviously. But, he's a guy with a good burst and a very good high hockey IQ. And, I know I've seen the one scout have him as one of the top playmakers in the draft. So hopefully he pans out, and congratulations to him. He's going to a market that will love him. It might not be the biggest market, but their fans will love him. So congratulations there, Clark.
I was just going to say, though, that people are very, very intrigued by the Broncos. They're very loyal to them. People that do go to the games and are season ticket holders, it's you'll get the love in Swift Current, a small town market in rural Saskatchewan. Literally, you're 2.5 hours from any big center. It's going to be a lot of road trips, but it's definitely a good market. They're doing some good things there right now.
Yeah, definitely. And their next pick, Josh Fluker, pick they received from the Portland Winterhawks, part of the last piece of that Joel Hofer trade a couple of years back.
Jeez. Still going through that, eh?
Yeah, they needed to restock the fridge after going all in a couple of years back to win the championship. I seen the list of names. There are picks that came out of that trade. Obviously Connor Bedard, that one stings. Connor Geeky, another one. 2 guys that would look very good in the blue and green, but you can't be too upset. You won a WHL championship. That's why you play the game. But it's tough to see when you look back on it, but it is what it is. But anyways, back to Fluker. Some people are kind of shuffling the papers here at this pick. Many people had him. Some still had him as a first rounder, going a little more lower in the draft there. But this might be one of those scenarios where they just fill in needs, getting a talented D-man, and a guy that could possibly be coming. That could be one of those situations where he's a first round caliber guy. We don't think he's going to be there at our third pick. I guess first pick in the second round. Let's grab him. We know he'll come situation because they've been burnt before, but he's still a talented player. I don't know what you have on him playing in that league?
It's you know what is crazy. The Thistles played Southwest last weekend, and he was, for some reason, when I saw him when he came to Kenora, he was a one guy that kind of stuck out, and for a defenseman, and he's a smaller guy. He's not by any means 6'5" and 170 kind of built, and he'll grow into that, but he's an offensive defenseman. That's kind of the only thing I can say is that he likes to go on the rush. Yeah, sometimes he gets burnt, but that's the joy of playing in a AAA league. That's where you learn. That's where you develop. That's where you pick your times of when you're going to pinch and when you're going on the rush and things like that. And he's a skilled player. He's fast. He has good hands. He's a quick skater. And I know he has a hell of a backhand because he's coming down the left side, and he roofed it on the Thistles goalie. So, I was very happy to see that he got picked when I looked earlier today and I saw the first round and I saw that he got picked up and I kind of was head scratcher too, but for some reason, every time I watched him, he stands out in some way. If it's putting the puck in the net, if it's holding the line holding the puck at the line, or doing whatever he has to do for his team. But if he gets beat, he'll be back as fast as humanly possible to try to catch the guy that beat him. So, it's a good pick for Swift Current, obviously getting a very highly skilled forward in 6, and then taking a offensive defenseman in number 7. So they're definitely in a very good position. Obviously, if both of those players commit to the Broncos, it's going to be even better once they sign that letter. But it's going to be really exciting to watch Swift Current. And I'm biased because I watch these players in this league. I apologize that I don't know much more information about any of some of the other players, but it's exciting times because this league is starting to finally, it's making headway to getting a lot of those players to the WHL, which is great. It's hard to compete against the CSSHL where it's a private, you're playing academy hockey. And even like I said about Saskatchewan, building those programs up to, be competitive and to send players elsewhere.
Yes, definitely. And I just want to point out for anyone watching, when we kind of talk about reaches and kind of head scratchers, I don't want to take anything away from these players. Like if we were analyzing, say, the NHL draft, where you see commentators maybe, oof, this is a reach on a player. He's not this caliber of pick. We're just kind of going off what we've heard, what we've seen. And obviously the Broncos see tools in there. You've seen it so many times in the WHL draft. Oh, this guy is second in scoring in the league, and he was a 5th round pick. And, that's the thing about drafting kids so young is, they can, 1 year's a long time in a bantam or midget player's career. You did it again. U18 player's career, but don't want to take anything away from saying, it was a bit of a head scratcher, but obviously Swift sees something they like, and that's why those scouts get paid the big bucks, and we don't get paid that. We just get paid to talk about this. So
and congratulations to Josh and Clark. They're representing the Manitoba U18 Hockey League in style. Going high in the draft, and congratulations to both of them. I imagine that they're ecstatic, and they're going to be right back playing hockey this weekend. So no rest for the wicked.
Definitely. Moving on to number 8, the Medicine Hat Tigers took Thomas Mirsick, center of the Delta Hockey Academy from Surrey, BC. And let's keep going here. 9th, you see a familiar last name there. We'll definitely have to stop and talk about him. I think it's Tej or TJ. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. Iginla, that is the son of Jerome Iginla, a forward for the Rink Hockey Academy in Kelowna. Finally gets his name called. Not going to lie, I was a little hoping he'd be there at his name would pop up at 6 or 7 just because of the last name. But
sell some tickets.
But congratulations to him going to Seattle. I've seen rankings of him as low as third top prospect in this draft, and as and is as low as late 20s, early 30s. Obviously, when you get kids this young, rankings definitely vary on scouts, but I'm sure with his last name, the potential is screaming at teams, right? It's going to be interesting to see what he can do, but like father, like son, he sees his name called.
Yeah, it's exciting because he gets to join Sam Aremba and Connor Roulette in Seattle on a Seattle squad that's actually, they've had a pretty good year as of so far this season. So, you're going to a team that's, loaded with some young talent, and it's going to be exciting to watch him play. And you're right, though, the last name, you can't get over the last name. Being Jerome McGinley's son, playing. I'm pretty sure McGinley's either coaching the U18 at the Rink Hockey Academy or the U15. I can't remember, but having his dad by his side and being able to watch him on top of being coached or trained by a Hall of Fame hockey player is amazing. So I know people are going to be excited to watch him play. He doesn't have a whole lot of points, but he's only played 11 games this season. So he hasn't played a whole lot for the Rink Hockey Academy there in Kelowna. But, I imagine big things are coming for him.
Yes, definitely. And I'm looking forward to, well, unfortunately, with the way the WHL schedule works, I'll only see him once every 2 years live, but might have to tune into a couple more Seattle games once he gets up there, barring that he commits. Given his dad being in Kelowna and his dad going the WHL route, I would assume it is highly likely that he will go that route. And I see the little fist pump from the former Blazers fan there. And yeah, good for him, and exciting times for any Thunderbirds fans watching this. Moving on to number 10, Miguel Marquez. Miguel, I've seen as high as the third best prospect in this draft. He goes at 10. And one of the highest hockey IQs I've heard, with elite creativity. Lethbridge seems to be finding another diamond, as they always seem to find those creative playmakers that can do it all. Miguel, coming from Prince George, BC, I'm sure he's seen a lot of Cougar games up there, and hopefully we can see him take the WHL route.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying that playing in that U17 league, he has 64 points. So obviously Lethbridge has found a scorer, as we've said before. It'll be a next step for him to jump up to the Western Hockey League and play in such a great hockey culture in Lethbridge for the Hurricanes. Guys like Dylan Cousins have come out of there. They're putting together a good squad, with being led by Zach Stringer and, some good talent there. So it's going to be exciting to watch, like you mentioned, to watch some games in Lethbridge.
Definitely. And sticking with the Delta Hockey Academy theme there, Colton Roberts goes 11th overall to Vancouver. Another team that had a great day in the WHL draft, the Delta Hockey Academy. Lots of names called there. Roberts, 26 points in 17 games as a D-man. Seeing Miguel's numbers, obviously that team could put the puck in the net, which may inflate his defensive numbers, but obviously a player that they like. And from what I've heard, he is exceptionally talented, physically talented, not afraid to lay the body. So the Giants will get a thumper there at the back end that can also put the puck in the net. Moving on to Calgary, Carson Wetsch, right winger of the BWC Academy. Another physical forward, as I've read, terrific one-timer. Maybe a right-handed Ovechkin there. I guess Ovechkin is a righty, I believe. Maybe another Ovechkin player there. He can stand on the left side of that power play and just pew off one-timers. Glad he's found a spot there in Calgary. Unfortunately, he's in the Broncos division for me, so I'm sure we'll see him put the puck in the net, and I may not like him as much in a couple of years, but could be another name you could see with the Canadian World Juniors in a couple of years. Going to 13, we have Cole Purden, another Saskatoon Blazer off the board from Outlook, Saskatchewan. From a long list of guys there, a physical body there. Not sure what you've heard on him, JD, but heavy wrist shots. Just trying to bring up his stats here.
He has 16 points in 18 games, so he's he's definitely a point producer. And stats don't always say the full story. He's playing. You're playing on a team with guys with like a fully loaded roster. If you're either playing on the Blazers or the Contacts. So, to come from a small town in Outlook, Saskatchewan, with some NHLers that have come out of Outlook, Saskatchewan, like the Stevenson family, I think that's who I'm thinking of. Playing in the NHL, being drafted, and it's nice to see those small town kids being able to, getting looks, and he's going to be venturing north to play for the Raiders, which is a fan base like no other from what I've heard, and it's exciting to see him make that next step. So congratulations to him, and I see Prince Albert got number 14 as well. So they seem like they did pretty well in the first round at least.
Yeah, loading up on forwards. And they're starting to restock the fridge as well. I know the big Caden Gooley trade not too long ago, adding some more picks there, and they're also kind of rebounding from the WHL title a couple of years ago. I know they didn't invest quite as much as the Broncos did, but usually when a team wins a CHL league title, there's some price to pay along with it. But getting another talented forward there in Ryder Ritchie. Ritchie becoming a very popular hockey name. I'm sure a lot of it isn't tied necessarily to every Ritchie, but you're seeing that name pop up a lot more, and I'm not sure what his ties are to some of the other Ritchies, pardon me, in the hockey community. But congratulations to him. At 15, a guy that I thought might have gone a little sooner, Tyson Bachowski, a big, talented D-man there, hard wrist shot. He kind of QBs that power play there with the Blazers. Yes, sorry. Often get them in the contacts tangled up when talking about them, but he quarterbacks that power play of a very highly efficient offense. Good to see there for Prince George. They'll look at a guy that can come in and add to that talent pool with Riley Height and the rest of that organization. 16, we got Moose Shaw, taking Merrick Howell, lefty man for the Calgary Royals. And 17 at Lethbridge, Tristan Doyle. And I believe this next guy you kind of want to touch on, Winnipeg, taking a local boy in Jonas Wu, right-handed D-man from the Winnipeg Bruins U18 AAA program. I know we talked about him briefly before the show started. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, he's the younger brother of former WHLer Jet Wu, who you probably saw more often playing in Moose Jaw before he got traded and finished his career in Calgary for the Hitmen. But Jet Wu, he's a smaller guy, but he's a very highly skilled guy. He's on that first line on a very talented Winnipeg Bruins. They got 3 teams in the league just in Winnipeg alone. So it's he's definitely a small but skilled guy to play. He's the catalyst on their power play, and I know he's having a good season there in the league. Putting up some. Putting up 18 points in 21 games, so he's doing pretty good, and it's going to be exciting to watch him, play with Zachary Benson, Connor Geeky, and that Winnipeg team that just is unreal this year. Connor McLennan and, those guys to see what he's going to do at that next level. And it's nice that, he's getting, obviously Winnipeg has probably been the one team that's seen him the most, being there. And so they obviously liked something, liked his scoring ability. And, my mistake. He's a defenseman. For some reason, I swear that he was a forward. Oh, well, I just look like an idiot now, but he's definitely a very highly skilled player. And for them to see that, they definitely saw something in him. And for a team that's going to be good for a little bit, and playing with Matthew Savoy, that he's having an unreal year this year. So it's going to be exciting to watch.
Well, just kind of to maybe support you a little bit on your thoughts of him being a forward. Just some notes on him through a couple guys on Twitter here. Offensive flair, incredible vision, completely a complete player, highly offensively skilled. So you're seeing a lot of offensively worded words, I guess, describe him. So you've probably seen him in the offensive zone, stirring things up, making plays, getting down there. So it can be kind of fooling, I guess, in midget or U18 hockey if you see a D-man so heavily involved in the offense. But we'll do another quick break here before we continue on with the first round. Almost to the first round, and we'll power through some names throughout the rest of the draft. Obviously, if we went pick by pick, we'd be here all night because 15 rounds or 14 rounds can we can drag on pretty well, and I'm sure you guys would be sick of us by then. So we will be right back after a quick break, and we'll see you then.
All right, guys, make sure you watch that coverage out there.
Speaking of coverage, you guys got supplemental insurance?
Who is this guy?
No one can cover me.
You can be covered for any accident, anytime, anywhere, Canada and the USA. Learn more at supplementalinsurance.ca.
Hi.
Oh, brutal. Maybe I should get some of that coverage.
Welcome back, everyone, to the AAA Show. I am your host, Jared, down with JD. Powering through this WHL draft, lots of names to talk about, lots of guys from all over Western Canada, which makes it a little challenging to have details on all the players since the draft just finished a couple hours ago. This show obviously being pre-recorded Thursday night, airing on Friday. So just to jump right into it, I guess we just finished talking about former WHL player Jet Wu, younger brother Jonas Wu, very talented offensive D-man for the Winnipeg Blues. Sticking around Winnipeg to a team that's going to be fairly talented for a couple more years yet, and he'll have the opportunity to maybe step into that roster next year, and another offensive D-man in that lineup will make that team even scarier when you got a guy that can rip around the ice and get the puck up to those offensively gifted forwards they have in Winnipeg there. At 19, Gavin Hognet, center/left winger out of Rinka Hockey Academy Thoughts on him is just kind of pulling up some scouting reports on him at 19th overall. Smart playmaking, transition consistency, which is something that a lot of teams are starting to look for more and more in a player. A guy that can transition that puck through the offensive, through the center, or through the neutral zone into the offensive end. Puck time of possession is one of the more key stats in hockey now. If you look at one of the analytical guys, they will love this player. At 20, Terrence Smith, Everett team, going to Everett from the Saskatoon Blazers, another D-man from that organization. That team had a heyday. And then at 21, our first trade of the day, JD's Kamloops Blazers traded their first-round pick of this year to Regina Pats for the first-rounder in 2023. They get Jackson Vaughn, as Regina's already starting to load up, planning for Connor Bedard's draft year. Jackson playing a part of that Rink Hockey Academy Kelowna U18 program. The same as TJ Ginla. What are your thoughts on that move, JD?
Well, I know Kamloops is wanting to build for the future because it's not going to be long before they lose Logan Stankoven into the NHL, and lose a lot of their core guys that are still young, but they're not, like, they might not come back next year. Like a Josh Pillar or a Josh Pillar, or some of their veteran guys as well. So I think that they're really just trying to build for that future. And but they got a great future to look forward to in Fraser Minton and Connor Levis, and a goalie, Dylan Ernst, and they have a lot of, like, Matthew Semenoff and Caden Bankier, and so they got some guys for a couple of years. But I know that, knowing them, they want to try to build and keep that great momentum that they've had these last couple of years going. So this trade is just, they just wanted to get a first round draft pick for next year, to try to, I wouldn't say replace Logan Stankoven, but I think, he might be playing in the AHL next year, for that Dallas Stars organization. So it's going to be a tough loss for them, him being obviously a Kamloops boy. But I think they're really looking towards the, for his departure, and just trying to, get those first round draft picks for coming years.
Yeah, I actually love this move by Kamloops. This first rounder is not going to be, or Vaughn's not going to be coming to them for at least this year. And, they're probably still going to be a pretty deep team next year that we might not be able to be in there as a 16-year-old. And it gives them that extra first rounder in a couple of years down the road here, where they can, they could choose to use it, or they could use it as a piece of the deadline this year to make a run at a Memorial Cup, or move their own first rounder, which, is you might not want to do if you're selling a bit to get a Memorial Cup run, because that first rounder by chance could be a little more valuable, but it also could give you the security of, if you do move your own, you will still have a first rounder in that draft. So it's a great move by both teams. It's a smart hockey trade, as you hear it in the media. Both will prove beneficial for both. As we finish off the first round, Yale Hockey Academy strikes again. Caleb Hadland, a left winger to add to the Brandon well-stocked fridge now after this draft. They have as a powerful skater. That's one of the best traits you could hear out of a young guy, a guy that's got that strength and legs that can, power through that. Maybe, you see it lots. I'm noticing a lot with seeing the Broncos, a team that maybe not quite there yet, with a lot of rebuilding going on, that, the kids that can show the strength and stick around, it gives them a little more time to find the offensive side to their game and allow them to grow a little easier in the league. So Brandon's getting another guy that's just gonna. Gosh, that team's gonna be scary in a couple of years.
Yeah, and you know what, they lost a lot of key guys last year. They won the Subway Cup in the you want to call it the Hubble, as people were calling it. So they're definitely, but they're still a strong team. Yeah, they've had their ups and downs, and but it's tough when you literally have to play Winnipeg however many times, that because they're not going west. So I think that they're probably going to play Winnipeg 11 or 12 times, and it's hard to with a team that's so good to go up against them. So it's nice to see that they're going to be, they're building for the future, and they're going to be a competitive team, because I like Brandon because they never have that whatchamacallit. They don't usually have like that one or two guys that just puts up unreal numbers. In Brandon, they build a team. So everybody can put the puck in the net, and they work around that, and they put the right pieces in there to make that work. And they're a team. Like, they don't have a Matthew Savoy or a Connor Geekie or a Zach Benson or, those kind of players that can just score, at free will and put up, over 100 points a season. They're going to lose Ridley Gregg after this season, I would imagine. So it's going to be, that's a tough loss. It's, he's their captain, and he's also their leader and kind of that glue that's in Brandon right now. So it's nice to see that they had such a good first round.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be interesting going forward. Going on to the second round here, it's going to kind of fire through some names. We're not going to go name by name as we don't have time. I'm already going to tick off, as they call it, is Jay and Dan. Producer Tim, ours is producer Glenn. He's not going to be happy. We're going to be going probably over the hour stretch, but hopefully you guys who are still around are enjoying the show and will enjoy the extra content, and you can go back and watch this later or catch the show that's going on after this and come back and finish us off. So going to Swift there. Not because I'm a Bronco fan, but I want to touch on this guy, Max McCarty. I apologize. I probably butchered that last name. Another Kelowna Prep player. And interesting, though, going in the second round, 16 points. He's on the same team. He actually has more points than a couple of his teammates that were called before him. And he's a decent 5'11", 160, as this one site has him. It just comes to show you can't just look at stats. Scouts obviously see something else in his teammates. But not taken away from him. A second round pick is still often turns out quite well in the WHL. So congratulations to him. Ashton Tate, he's doing quite well for him with Prince Albert Mintos. He's 16th in that league in scoring with 22 points in that league right now. Doing well on a team that's, I had seen a couple players' names called in the draft today here, and congratulations to him. He'll be going to your Blazers. So what are your thoughts on that pick? Better not move too fastly, or I might get chewed out after the show.
No, it's exciting. Like, I'll be quick with this. Kamloops, they're right now they're built on an offensive heavy team. Like, last night they put up 7 on Vancouver, and 3 or 4 of them on the power play. So they're definitely, like, right now they're doing very, very well for for that offensive power that they've had these last couple of years. So obviously, it feels like they're not feeling the effects that bad of losing Connor Zary to the AHL, but they're definitely building for the future, like I said before, and they're getting a scorer, and it's going to be exciting to watch him play whenever he does get the opportunity. I would hope that he would get some playing time next year, depending on how he does at camp and what they like. Sean Clouston's doing a great job with that club. Like, he, coming over from Medicine Hat a couple of years ago, he really turned that club around, and he took the players that he had he's a smart guy. He's a very, he's a very smart GM and coach, and he's definitely turned that program around from what it was, and really turning into something special there in Kamloops.
Yeah, definitely. And, Kamloops just seem to always have an eye for talent. Whether it's the first, second, third, fourth, fifth round, they always seem to find those guys that will come and perform, and some often perform above their capability. And that team seems to get the most out of their players. So I'm sure they'll have a good player there in Tate. Moving on some more, Trey Wilk to Lethbridge. He was one of those players that I thought heading into the season had a very good chance to be a first rounder, mid-first rounder. He's got 17 points in 21 games. A very deep draft class this year is what many scouts have told me. So him going early second is nothing to take away from his abilities. I'm sure Lethbridge will be very happy in what they got in him. Just kind of going through here a little more. Portland took, I believe that was their first goalie off the board.
Yeah, it is. I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Luke Brunin, Warman Wildcats. Warman having a heck of a year in the Saskatchewan League. If you guys get a chance to watch them act, they'll be a team that'll definitely contend to take that tournament. They are a big physical team, and Brunin, obviously a key part to that team's success. I don't know if you being the goalie wizard there, I'm not sure if you've looked into him at all. Any thoughts if you have?
No, I unfortunately I have not. I know that Warman is having a really, really good season, and it's, to be a goalie and be taken 36th overall in the Bantam draft is great. And for a goalie, we talked about goalies, going up to that next level, and they don't develop the same as players, going into making that switch, that jump into the major junior hockey league. And it's exciting for, I imagine him, going to a great franchise like Portland, and I would imagine in the next 2 years he's going to be the starter there, minus a trade. But it's exciting for a goalie to go. I think that this is still high in a draft for a goalie. It is, obviously no one's Sebastian Kosa, but it's great.
Yeah, and like you said, every goalie develops differently, and when you see a goalie go in the second round, if you look down there, we kind of got a like you see in the NFL draft. Once that first quarterback goes, teams just start panicking. So you see two more down there, but yeah, good for him. They're hard to scout and hard to develop. So if he puts the work in, I'm sure he'll do just fine going to an organization that's been known to pop out some good tendies. So moving on to one interesting thing I've noticed. I haven't heard a whole lot on him, just trying to do some digging on the fly here. Bryce Pickford of the Wainwright Polar Kings U18 AA. That's midget AA, U18 AA, not AAA. So someone must see something they like in him. Just trying to quickly find if anyone here had. Yes, just going through all my sources here. Quickly found a tidbit from Puck Preps Western Canada as well. He was not ranked on their prospect board. So some scout somewhere got a tidbit from some connection somehow that said, hey, you got to watch this guy, and they must like what he sees. I'm sure him being picked in the second round will have AAA teams flooding to Wainwright to watch him play if they aren't already. And maybe it could just be he didn't want to play AAA yet, and he's having a good year. Maybe see if I have the stats up here. He got 22 points in 14 games with U18 AA, and looks like he might be playing Junior B as well. Is that what I'm seeing here? What league is that? The NEAJBHL. They couldn't make that name any longer.
The North. That
Yeah, I
could
think
be the Northeastern Alberta Bantam Hockey League.
Northeast Alberta Junior. I think it's the Northeast Alberta Junior B Hockey League.
Okay, that makes sense. But I
Looking
just
at
wanted
Cold Lake Ice. So yeah, St. Paul Canadians. Yeah.
Well,
So
Luke Brunin, actually, Portland must have seen something that they really liked in him, or he has a connection somewhere, because he's the backup for the Warman Wildcats.
yeah, see if I can. Just trying to think of who the starter is off the top of my head.
It is Alex Worthington.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, and so but he is, as a backup right now, he is undefeated. He only has a shootout loss, so he's
245.
Yeah.
Well,
And
good for him.
Either he has some connections in Portland somehow, or they definitely like the game that he plays, and for him to be not even the starter and to be picked up is incredible. So kudos to him. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Holy cow! Do we ever have a run on goalies here? We got Ethan McCallum and Medicine Hat at 39th overall, Chase Watsky 40th overall, Jesse Sanch 42 overall, and then Jaden Krause at 46 overall. That's trickling into the third round. So yeah, the NFL QB effect hit hard here in the second round of the WHL draft as teams saw goalies going and hit the panic. I don't know, I shouldn't say hit the panic button, but they made sure they got them. So, and Red Deer plucking another goal. Did they have another former contact on that team? I don't remember. I want to say Red Deer. Well, they have the player. I want to say they have a former goaltender too as well. I could be wrong on that. Let's see if I can. Probably don't have time to dig it up here. I'd be wasting all your time, but I might have to check that after the show and see if I'm correct on that. I know there's some
took a goalie too.
Yeah, getting those goalies as Kamloops prepares for the post Garon era.
Yeah, Dylan Garan. Good luck to him at the World Junior Camp. I know he's going to be, in my opinion, he's a heavy favorite for the starter. He was a backup last year to Connor. I think it was Connor Levi. No, Devin Levi.
Devin Levi, yeah.
Yeah.
And just going through here, trying to find a couple of guys that I wanted to talk about as we kind of try and wrap this up. I'd love to sit here and talk about every player and every pick, but only have so much time. And Raiden Zacharias, this was a mind blower for me. Falling to the fourth round, another top bantam prospect that went to the Saskatoon Blazers. I'm not sure why he fell. 19 points in 20 games on that roster, and he was. Would he ever put up numbers in bantam last year? But for whatever reason he fell, and of course he falls to the Regina Pack Canadians as they get another top-notch guy, in my opinion, that could really elevate that team. And that team, look out, you could be seeing them Memorial Cup champions in about 2 years now. They're still struggling to find their game this year. But obviously, when you have a guy like Bedard and you can throw pieces with him, anything can happen. Trying to find what round he went in. Keith Mckinnis. He was one of the top prospects in this draft. Many have him as high as 2. Most didn't have him out of the top 10. he goes 5th round to the Red Deer Rebels. As I was talking to JD before the show, he's likely going to college, what the rumors have it, and why he fell past so many teams. I think he must have made it pretty clear to everyone in the league that, I want to go to college. This is the road I want to go, or maybe I want to play in the BC League. Hard to say without having someone that's close to him to talk about it. But obviously, Red Deer seeing the opportunity there to, hometown boy, if anyone's going to get him to come, maybe it's the Rebels. And like we've touched on in the show, Rebels could be a team worth talking about in a year. Even this year, they're playing good hockey. So, maybe that could be enough to entice him.
I think in the Central Division this year, I think it's all roads lead through Edmonton, because I know with them getting Caden Gooley, they're really building their team for a Memorial Cup run and a deep run in the WHL playoffs. And I think that, like I said, Red Deer has, I think, turned a lot of heads this year with how they've played, but all roads lead through Edmonton this year. I know that they want it. It's going to be Jake Neighbors and probably Dylan Gunther's last year. And so, I think Edmonton they're doing the same thing Swift Current. They're going for broke. And that's what's going to happen. And you know what? If we see an upset in our midst and they get knocked out by Red Deer, you know what? That'll be awesome to see. But I can tell you right now that the WHL playoffs are going to be very, very intense, especially when you get to the WHL final, because you're going to be playing against teams that you've not played against, or a team that you've not played against all season.
Yes, definitely.
That's going to be the exciting part, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and one thing I'm really looking forward to, and not saying it'll happen, I'm kind of hoping it happens, but a Winnipeg Edmonton Eastern Conference final would be just a delight to watch.
Oh, yes.
The scouts would be eating it up, but there'd be a lot of talent on that roster, on both those rosters, and it would be a match made in heaven that you wish it would be in the WHL championship, but the way the geography works, it just won't happen. But we can see a matchup between them would be mighty fine.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same thing in the Western Conference. As much as I am a pro Blazer all the way, that's going to be an Everett Kamloops final, Western Conference final. I think that's in our midst.
Yes, I would have to agree there. As we keep this going a little bit before we drag this on even longer, Ronan Buckburger, left D-man of the Saskatoon Contacts, going to the Swift Current Broncos. The reason I'm pointing this out is it's kind of a nice sentimental story for those who are a part of the Buckburger family. Ronan's dad played with the Swift Current for 5 seasons. Ashley Buckburger. It's just the WHL, but players who play, whether it's the SJ, the Dub, NHL, if their bloodlines get the opportunity to go through the same organization as they did, it hits that much more closer to home.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, he's the younger brother to Boston Buckburger?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that there isn't, because there is a Buckburger family with a different spelling last name. And I often get that mixed up.
I see that one of your hometown Swift Current Legioneer got drafted.
Yes, Hudson Darby, 103 to Portland. He's having a good year in Swift Current, a team that started off really hot. It's kind of cooled off in the last 6 or 8 games here, but I believe it's 16 or 17 points in 21 games. It's pretty respectable on a team that's mid in the standings, bottom that's had a few games where they've been shut out. So, congratulations to him. I know he had a heck of a year in Bantam last year that might have seen him go a little earlier if he went off those stats. But yeah, congratulations to him as well. Trying to think. There's lots of names here that I'd love to talk about, but fortunately, producer Glenn's going to get mad at me right away if I keep going. So
It's probably watching right now.
yeah, probably have it. If I look at my text messages, it's probably, hey, wrap this thing up. There was one other name. I just want to get his name right. What's it? Where was it? I know I was sitting at work, working hard, as if somehow my higher ups are watching this, kind of just tracking the draft, and one name popped out. Gosh, now I'm blanking. Apologies. Oh yes, I believe yes, Luke Cousins. I want to say that's the younger brother, given
Yes, it is.
Given the location, but Lethbridge keeps it in the family and takes him in the 7th round. That's I love those stories of seeing family being able to go to the same organization, and you know, I don't know a whole lot about them. I haven't had the time to do research as much as I would have loved to just research all these players at work today. I had another job to do, so but
yeah, he is the younger brother to Luke Cousins. And actually, when I was living in Kamloops, I want to say that he was playing on their the South Island Royals AAA team in the BC Major Midget Hockey League. I think he was a first-year player. I could be wrong there, but I do believe that that's the connection. I talked to the coach, and they do, I guess, they do have a connection with someone on that team, and I guess he's moved on to the Yale Hockey Academy. But it's definitely a good story, obviously, with Dylan, very successful and in the successful in the NHL right now, for Lethbridge to take his younger brother.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the stats now at the U17 league, Canadian Sports School, 8 points in 14 games. No, that's respectable numbers. Really respectable for a 7th rounder. Kind of comes to show how deep this draft class is, and as there's almost bypassed him. We talked about this before the show. I wanted to make sure I get through this. Tyson Jugmouth. I know some of you who have followed the draft every year will have recognized that name. He was one of our few non-06s taken in this draft. Now, he was the 21st overall pick 2 years ago, I believe, by the Swift Current Broncos.
I stand in.
Can't remember that. I want to say it was 2 years ago. I believe he is
with Luke Cousins,
and he was released by the Broncos as he was committed to the University of Wisconsin. Since that, the Broncos gained an extra 2nd round compensation pick, but the Kamloops Blazers, 7th round, well stocked, Memorial Cup contender out of the WHL. If there's a team that could sway Tyson from going to college, it'd be a team that we can win now. So, what do you think of that pick from your Blazers?
I think, like I said before, they're really starting to build for the future. And if, they do get Tyson to sign his commitment letter and he's with the team for a couple of years, because they their defense is, they got some good young guys, but a lot of their guys are, kind of, in that 19-year-olds, because, obviously their co-captain Quinn Schmiemann, he will not be with the team next year. And then you got Victor Pershon. I'm pretty sure that he's an 18 or a 19-year-old too. He's a D-man. And then you got Stacka, which is another 19-year-old. If if I'm correct. So you're definitely going to be losing some key guys that are playing big minutes for you. They definitely on the back end, they got I think they're moving forward. They got Mats Lindgren, which has turned into been a really good, draft pick that they drafted a couple of years ago. So it's definitely, that's paying off for them, but they're going to be losing some key defensemen here in the near future. So it's going to be, it's, if they, like I said, if they can get him to come, I know that, and Sean likes what he sees. I imagine he'll get some definite playing time.
Yeah, for sure. And he's playing in the BCAHL. He ain't messing around the AAA waters anymore. I know he's an 04. So he's an 04. So this would be his 16-year-old season, 17-year-old season, wouldn't it be? Yes. Depending on when he turned 17. He'll turn 18 in April. So this is a 17-year-old season. Be tough to get him to come. He's almost a point per game player as a D-man in the BCHL, but you never say never. I know looking back, just kind of comparing, there was a D-man for the Saskatchewan Broncos a couple of years ago in their playoff run that was committed to a university team, was hell-bent on not coming, and SATs didn't pan out. Close to. I think it was an education thing that didn't quite pan out, and things didn't align close to the playoffs, and he ended up committing and playing with the Broncos for their playoff run, and then being shipped out the next season. So it's a never say never, and 7th round pick, you can afford to take a flyer on that kind of player. But I think we could wrap her up here. Would love to talk about anyone else involved. Just want to say congratulations to all the players and families involved on today. It was a very special day for everyone involved. The future careers are built on a day like today, and whether they follow down the path of the team that selected them or get moved to another team in a deadline deal for a playoff run, or even if they want to go to the college route, it still means a lot, and keep your head high for just being able to hear your name called. It's an honor.
Yeah, and congratulations to all the American-born players too. Yesterday they had the U.S. priority draft, so they. I just wanted to say congratulations to all those players and families as well. I know that's a big deal for probably a lot of kids that want to go that route in the Western Hockey League, or have been scouted to play in the Western Hockey League, with all the different developmental leagues that are in the United States. For the Western Hockey League and a lot of these Canadian teams to pick up some of those American-born players is great. So looking forward to seeing them in the future. And going off what Jared said, congratulations to all those players as well in the WHL Bantam draft. So.
You betcha. So, well, I want to thank everyone for watching. I'm Jared. This is JD. You've seen him lots on the show. I just want to thank you for coming on again, JD.
It's fun. I like it.
I know you love talking hockey, and especially when it has anything to do with the WHL. It's great having you on, and I'm sure you guys will see him on frequently throughout the year to help me out, break down some of the Manitoba League. As JD is doing some work with the North Thistles. So thanks for coming on, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Jared.